Memories of summer nights not so long ago. You would lie in my arms, dream of letting go. Dream of letting go. Traveling down the road, years go by like days. Now and then I recall the things we used to say. Things we used to say. You're all that I need. It's your love that I breathe. Nothing is missing when our lips are kissing. You are all I see. Never good at listening. The things were left unsaid. You were left wondering if it was in your head. It was in your head. You ran away, went astray, and I was left alone. Turned your eyes somewhere else. Your heart had turned to stone. Heart had turned to stone. You're all that I need. It's your love that I breathe. My heart is open, filled with emotion, yeah. You're all that I need. When you're with me, I'm free. Something is missing. I'm reminiscing.
Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. Our program will begin in 10 minutes. The program will begin in 10 minutes.
Overwhelmed, I cannot take it. It is there and then that I realize you're all that I need. It's your love, me, I'm free. My heart is open, filled with emotion, yeah. You're all that I need. It's your love that I breathe. Now I'm returning. My heart is burning. I have learned to believe memories of summer nights not so long ago. Open up the closet filled tennis shoes and memories. No one left to write them all down. And through photographs of frozen smiles and distant laughs, trying to remember the sound. Can I return to the place that I used to call home? 'Cause I don't know how to get back there now. I got lost somehow, walking down memory lane. Hey, yeah. Somehow the sand's not as sweet. In the corner sits your chair, half expect to see you there. Picture just feels incomplete. Can I return to the place that I used to call home? 'Cause I don't know how to get back there now. I got lost somehow, walking down memory lane. Memories like shopping carts down in the parking lot, rusted from too much time out in the rain. Someone I used to know left them there long ago, took off with all but my name. Now I don't know how to get back there now. I got lost somehow, walking down memory, going back there, 'cause I don't know how to get back there now. I got lost.
Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. Our program will begin in 5 minutes. Our program will begin in 5 minutes.
Walking down memory lane, walking down memory lane, yeah. Oh, oh. And it was planted by my grandpa in his wisdom and his forethought to provide shade and protection for our family. He finished with his toil, he looked up at me from the soil, and I never will forget the words he said to me. If you hold on tight to this tree of life, you will lead a life of justice and integrity. If you learn to see, it will set you free.
Hey, hey,
And
hey,
the
hey.
more you
Check.
give, the more
1,
you
2,
will
2.
receive.
Check 1, 2, 2. Check 1, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2. Check 1, 2, 2.
It's Chaim Heat. Well, I was on a search for knowledge as I headed off to college, but my hopes of fame and fortune were my fantasy. I got caught up in the current, life was passing in a hurry, and advice from long ago was just a memory. If you hold on tight to this tree of life, you will lead a life of justice and integrity. If you learn to see, it will set you free. And the more you give, the more you will receive. Hold on to the tree. It's Chaim Heat.
Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated and please mute all electronic devices. Ladies and gentlemen, 3 minutes.
So I drove 500 miles for a hug and one last smile, and I cried as he let go. If you hold on tight to this tree of life, you will lead a life of justice and integrity. If you learn to see, it will set you free. And the more you give, the more you will receive. Hold on to the tree. Eitz Chaim Heat. Now the years flow by like water. As I look upon my daughter, I can see my grandpa's image looking back at me. I can almost hear his laughter coming through from ever after, as I teach her of her family's famous legacy. If you hold on tight to this tree of life, you will lead a life of justice and integrity. If you learn to see, it will set you free, and the more you give, the more you will receive. If you hold on tight to this tree of life, you will lead a life of justice and integrity. If you learn to see, it will set you free, and the more
Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. Ladies and gentlemen, our program will begin momentarily. Please be seated.
If you hold on tight to this tree of life, you will lead a life of justice and integrity. If you learn to see, it will set you free, and the more you give, the more you will receive. Hold on to the tree. It's Chaim here. It's time for you and me. Hold on to the tree. I am here.
Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. Our program will begin momentarily. Please be seated, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats. Our program will begin momentarily. Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, please stand for our national anthems sung by award-winning cantorial soloist Todd Herzog of Temple Solel.
Oh, say can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, sing us that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave. Kolol balevav penima nefesh Yehudi omiya ulfate mizrach kadima ayin letzion Sophia. Oh, love the tikvatenu, hatikva בת שנות 2000, להיות עם חופשי בארצנו, ארץ ציון וירושלים. להיות עם חופשי בארצנו, ארץ ציון וירושלים. Before our meal, we're going to join in the Hamotzi. If you join me. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz b'teavon. L'chaim.
You have the board stage right and left. Okay, do you have the board stage right and left? Okay, stand by for music. We'll play on field. Go with Tony's introduction. Go ahead and release. Hang on, go voiceover, please.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome President of the Jewish National Fund's Arizona Board of Directors, Tony Dusick.
Thank you, Todd. Good morning. On behalf of the JNF Arizona Region Board of Directors, and our fabulous professional staff, Deb Rochford, Itzik Becker, Haley Magerman, and Audrey Lewis, I would like to welcome you to the 2017 JNF Annual Breakfast for Israel. We are a record-breaking 910 strong this morning. Thank you. Thank you to our table captains for doing such a great job. And I know it did not hurt that we have Ronald Lauder as our keynote speaker. I've asked our board members to join me this morning on stage to welcome you. A huge thanks to all of them for all the work they do. They are an amazing group, and I wanted all of you to see who they are. Our board works tirelessly to ensure that you, our donors, are appreciated. And please know that every one of you are truly appreciated. This is my last major event as president. The only one not on is my husband. He's thrilled. My term ends in the fall, but you will be in very capable hands because our incoming president is Susan Farber, and she will do a great job. Thank you for the opportunity to serve as your board president. It has been a joy and honor, delightful, and what I really have to say, it's been a hell of a lot of fun. I have had a great time.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Deb Rochford. I'm your Executive Vice President, and I want to take 1 second and I want to tell you about our Tony. Since she became president, the monetary gifts that we have directed to Israel from Jewish National Fund Arizona have doubled. We run this region like a business. Tony's a businesswoman, and on behalf of the professional staff, we have had the best time working with her. It's been my honor and privilege, and she will be missed greatly.
Thank you, guys. And now I would like to thank our sponsors who have so graciously underwritten this event. Our Jerusalem sponsor, Thema Health Services. Our Tel Aviv sponsors, the Silverman Family Foundation. Flater Wealth Consulting, RBC Wealth Management. Greenberg Traurig. Blueprints for Tomorrow. Able Financial Group. Kotzen Valuation Partners. Arizona Ear, Nose, and Throat. Jackson Lewis. Weinberger Law. Nagel Law Group. Lane and Knock. ROI Properties. Reliable Background Screening. Engelman Berger, and our media partners, AZ Big Media and Jew Phoenix. I would also like to welcome Superior Court Judge Jay Adelman, the Honorable Ruth Hilliard, and my mayor, Scottsdale Mayor Jim Lane, who supports us at every breakfast. Thank you, Mayor. J.D. Mesnard, Speaker of the House, Arizona State House of Representatives. Mark Killian, Director of Arizona Department of Agriculture and former Speaker of the Arizona State House of Representatives. Mark, in case you don't know, Israel is doing major things in agriculture in the desert. We should speak. Leila Alston, Arizona State Representative. Andy Tobin, Arizona Corporate Commissioner and former Speaker of the Arizona State House of Representatives, and Sam Grunberg, our Consul General of Israel in Los Angeles. It's now my pleasure to introduce you to our co-chairs for this fabulous breakfast, Harriet and Jeff Bernick, and Betsy and Jeremy Zangara. They have spent many hours and many meetings planning this amazing event, and the success of it is due to their hard work. Thank you guys so much.
Ladies and gentlemen, now it's my privilege to introduce you to a man dedicated to Jewish National Fund's mission. He's a lifelong Zionist who was born on Herzl Street on Israel's birthday, grew up with the JNF Blue Box in his home, and has proudly embraced his family legacy. He's an awe-inspiring leader who is a member of Jewish National Fund's World Chairman's Council for donors who contribute $1 million or more to the organization, a past president of the New York board, and received JNF's highest humanitarian award, the Tree of Life Award, with his wife Randy for their passion and commitment. And he's a respected business executive who is chairman of Douglaston Development, a major developer in New York and one who is reshaping Brooklyn, while creating a lasting legacy through Jewish National Fund, literally building a brighter, more secure future for Israel. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the president of Jewish National Fund, Jeffrey E. Levine.
Good morning, Phoenix. With the combination of Purim and St. Patty's Day, notice my green tie, I expect a rowdy crowd. I don't know if they're serving alcohol at this breakfast, but as you know, JNF is all Israel all the time, and I want to thank each and every one of you from my home away from home, Phoenix, for joining us on this early morning. Thank you. I also want to congratulate Tony Dusick and the entire Phoenix board, along with Deb Rochefort and all of the professionals who work here in Phoenix, who, with all of the lay leaders, are doing an incredible job of making Phoenix an important part of the JNF story. I think you all in this room know or should know the JNF story. Our billion-dollar roadmap, which is almost halfway to our target in 10 years of raising $1 billion to improve the quality of life of the people of the state of Israel. Thank you, thank you. And none of it would be possible without the work that all of you are doing every day. I will not burden you. You're going to see a beautiful film. You're going to have Ron Lauder tell you about the great work that JNF is doing. We all know that the place of the Jewish people in the world is very precarious, whether it's here in the United States as we see the anti-Semitism on the rise, or it's in the state of Israel where peace seems all too far away. I want to thank each and every one of you for what you're doing to make lives of Jewish people here in the United States and in Israel by participating better. I thank you all very much. Enjoy your breakfast.
Please welcome Gala co-chair Harriet Bernick to the stage. Please welcome Gala co-chair Harriet Bernick.
Okay. Are they ready?
Adjust the mic for you, and then we'll go as fast as we can. Thank you.
Hello, welcome everyone. We're so happy that you're here. Sam Grunberg was appointed Consul General of Israel in Los Angeles by Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu in April of 2016. Mr. Grunberg is the senior representative of the State of Israel to the Southwest region of the United States. Immediately before becoming Consul General, Mr. Grunberg served as Deputy General in Israel for the World Jewish Congress. Mr. Grunberg is originally from Miami Beach, Florida. He fulfilled a lifelong dream and moved to Israel in 1990. Soon thereafter, he made Aliyah. Once in Israel, he served as a combat soldier in the IDF in the Armored Corps, and later in the IDF as reserves as a casualty officer. Please welcome Sam Grunberg.
Shalom, Boker Tov. Good morning. Thank you so much. It's an honor to be here with you and for this very important breakfast. It's so great to see so many people so early in the morning. I want to first recognize JNF CEO Russell Robinson and Sharon Friedman and the rest of the professional team. We salute your leadership and partnership, and we thank you for all that you do. I also want to recognize our keynote speaker, Ambassador Ronald Lauder, President of the World Jewish Congress, whom I had the privilege of working with for 6 years. And now in my capacity as Consul General of Israel, I have the opportunity to say to Ronald Lauder, thank you. Thank you on behalf of the State of Israel and for the Jewish people around the world. I've experienced firsthand how passionate, sincere, and committed you are, and you're an example and model for all of us to follow. We're here to recognize this morning the crucial work that JNF does every day, not just in times of crisis, as witnessed during the incredible response to the fire emergency last year, but the incredible work that you do every single day, working to build, nurture, and contribute towards Israel realizing its full potential. JNF continues to build and fortify the State of Israel in a myriad of ways, including environmental innovation, Zionist education and advocacy, water conservation, research and development, special needs initiatives, and community development, particularly in northern and southern Israel. Each of these areas are vitally important to the stability and future of Israel. You know, ladies and gentlemen, we are now in a period leading up to Passover, which revolves, of course, around telling the story of the Exodus from Egypt and Israel becoming a nation. As Jews, telling our story is how we engrave it into our Jewish soul and memory. What JNF does, and all of you here today do, you not only tell the story, you are an active part of the story. A story of Israel's becoming a global power, a leader on the world stage, and a force of humanity. Ladies and gentlemen, Israel and the Jewish people have friends, good friends, and we are far from being a country that is shunned or isolated. Israel is becoming a global power in knowledge and technology and is becoming more and more sought after for these areas in the international arena. So may we go from strength to strength as we move forward together, ensuring Israel's bright future. Thank you once again for your partnership. It is valuable beyond words. Congratulations.
More than 100 years ago, JNF planted the seeds for a vibrant Jewish homeland. Today, our work is as vital as ever as we continue to build a nation.
We are turning the page on a new chapter of an ancient story. our story.
With every step we take, we're a testament to the bold vision and heroism of those who came before us.
JNF brings children from all backgrounds to play together.
You make lone soldiers feel welcome.
You have brought vibrant life to barren land.
And helped us to protect it.
So we can foster a homeland that helps every citizen to reach their full potential and create a place for people who need special care.
Giving access to all.
Today, we are a country with water flowing in the desert, making miracles happen.
And wisdom flowing to all corners of the globe.
We are investing in established communities, giving them the opportunity to grow.
And helping new ones rise from empty desert.
We are bringing the next generation of leaders to Israel.
And helping ancient communities adapt to a new millennium.
Thanks to Jewish National Fund, tourism is flourishing in the Galilee.
Beersheba is the fastest growing city in Israel, and business is booming in the sands of the Negev.
We are forging the future our founders only dreamed of.
We are not only philanthropists, we are entrepreneurs investing in the future of a country, of a people. Our work today ensures that the Jewish state thrives tomorrow.
Join us as we build a nation.
Join us as we build a nation.
Join us as we build a nation.
We are Jewish National Fund.
We are Jewish National Fund.
Your voice in Israel.
Please welcome Gala co-chair Betsy Zangara to the stage.
Ladies and gentlemen, now it's my privilege to introduce you to an extraordinary leader, a visionary who is ranked 26th on the Jerusalem Post list of the 50 most influential Jews in the world, an innovator who was highlighted in the best-selling book, The 24-Hour Turnaround, How Amazing Entrepreneurs Succeed in Tough Times, and a gifted executive who, along with his team of lay and professional leaders, has succeeded in making Jewish National Fund one of the top-rated charities in the United States and the leading organization for the land and people of Israel. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our Chief Executive Officer, Russell F. Robinson.
And she had a child 8 weeks ago. Destiny is not a matter of chance. It's a matter of choice. It's not a thing that we wait for. It's something that we have to go after. Destiny. That is what Israel is to the Jewish people everywhere, our destiny and our connection. The man who is speaking here as your keynote speaker later brought me to this organization almost 20 years ago. We went down to the Negev. He wanted to populate it, but we were faced with a catastrophe. Israel was running out of water. Every drop of water was so precious. Farms were being dug up. Everything that we had had in our dream for our destiny was being plowed over by a tractor. He turned to me and he said, "We're going to face this challenge." Now, I have to admit to each and every one of you something I didn't admit to him right away. I knew nothing about water. I knew it came from the tap. At that time, Israel was reusing 4% of its water. 4%. Today, almost 20 years later, because of the man who is speaking to you today, because our going after destiny, not waiting for things to happen, acting, Israel reuses 85% of its water. Now, I want you to think about a contribution 20 years ago in a different kind of America, a different kind of a Jewish community, one that talked about Israel on the brink of annihilation. Today, Jewish National Fund, people don't talk that way. We talk about Israel as a winning combination. But the winning combination is just that, it's you and it's me. 20 years ago, when we were raising money for recycled water, when people were thinking you had to raise money for a poor child in Israel, for a war, for a new immigrant that came with nothing else on their back, that was the Israel of the exile. That was the Israel that was built. But it was built on a destiny and a dream that it would be a nation upon nations. And it was built upon a combination of you and me participating in that. Now, if you did not know how that has worked today, just in the past 2 weeks, and I heard it even in the film, Israel baseball. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't think that there's any other people that would have stood up and clapped like that. Now, maybe it's because we're just happy to have anybody that can play anything. But I want you to think about it. In papers throughout the United States, in Jewish day schools, young people, old people, were talking about Israel baseball players, the Israel team playing and going to the quarterfinals. That's a pride of us onto the state of Israel and the land of Israel. That is the important connection between you and I. That is the Jewish National Fund story. It continues when we have a little girl named Ava. Ava is from Atlanta, Georgia. She went to our Alexander Muss High School. I spoke on the same podium with her a month ago. She came up to the podium and she said, "I was asked to speak about my experience at Alexander Muss High School, but I am not." The room was silent. She said, "I want to speak about my experience yesterday. I was having lunch in my school, in my high school. I heard the Middle East conversation start on the table next to me. I knew where it was going. Israel was mentioned in negative terms. I picked up my lunch and I walked over to the table and I sat down. And for the next hour, I explained the vibrancy of the land of Israel. I explained about the passion of the Jewish people. I explained about our destiny and our desire to live in peace. I explained about the creation of new life in the Negev because of people like you in this room who've dedicated themselves to participate in the nation still under creation. That's my story of Alexander Muss High School as a high school person to go to Israel. Before that, I would not have picked up my lunch and gone to the other table. We did that. Each and every one in the room who contribute, you make that happen. You make that happen when we take non-Jews to Israel on our Caravan for Democracy. You make that happen with our faculty fellowship, where we take faculty from throughout the United States to come to Israel to learn the real story of Israel. You make that happen in the northern part of Israel, where we're bringing 300,000 people. You make that happen in the Negev, where we're bringing 500,000 people. You make that happen for people with disabilities, when I could stand there and be part of a group of special in uniform that are bringing people with disabilities into the armed forces of the IDF, and I stand and I'm able to give them a beret so they're part of the life cycle of the land of Israel, because no one is left behind in Israel. You make that happen. The Jewish National Fund makes that happen. We have a group of young people here from our JNF Future. The meeting for this weekend. Tonight is our Shabbat in the Park, as you heard. Shabbat in the desert, sorry. Shabbat in the Park is New York. Shabbat in the Lot is LA. I think you got a theme here. They're not waiting. We must not allow the calendar to blind us to the fact that our moment is now to make miracles. We don't have the opportunity to change the page of another day without acting today. The calendar is our future. You, I, the people of Israel, together we make miracles happen.
Please welcome one of JNF's major donors, a longtime friend of JNF, Jeff Geiser.
Good morning, everyone. There is an old adage, invest with your head and give with your heart. And for me, I have to give with my head as well. When I consider a donation to an organization, I want to know what the goals are. I want to know who the people are that are involved, what their track record is, and what their measures of success are. Now, that's a difficult proposition, even evaluating organizations here in Phoenix. It's a much more difficult proposition trying to do that in evaluating organizations several thousand miles away in Israel. But that's where JNF comes in. For 114 years, JNF has been investing in the infrastructure of the land of Israel and now the state of Israel. Since the first donation was made in London in 1903, right through to the funds that are going to be raised here at this breakfast this morning, JNF has been investing in the organizations, the institutions, and the people that make Israel what it is today. When the state of Israel needed to build their water reuse system, just as Russell talked about, or they needed to protect their heritage sites, they called upon JNF, and JNF delivered. When the city of Beit Shean needed a new community center for their youth, they called upon JNF, and JNF delivered. When General Doron Almog, who is one of Israel's great military heroes, when he decided to dedicate his post-military career to building a rehabilitation hospital in memory of his only son, he trusted JNF. He called upon JNF, and JNF is delivering for him right now. So this morning, let's turn the tables, and let's get together, and let's deliver for JNF. Let's deliver for JNF because it has the longest track record of responsible giving in the land of Israel and in the state of Israel. This track record is why I give to JNF. It's why my parents and grandparents gave to JNF. It's why we have a JNF tzedakah box in our kitchen that our children put money in each week. Now, if you were a long-time donor to JNF, and perhaps you were at the Tree of Life dinner where we honored Dr. Michael Crow in January, or perhaps you met General Doron Almog when he was in town here in November. First of all, thank you for your support. And second, if there's any way that you can increase that commitment this morning and enhance that donation, we would certainly appreciate it. For those of you who have given in the past and for whatever reason have not given recently, we ask that you renew your commitment this morning to JNF and to the organizations and missions that it serves in Israel. And for those of you who have never given to JNF, and perhaps this is the first time and first exposure you've really had to the missions that it accomplishes in the state of Israel, we welcome you, and we hope that you will start a tradition this morning of annual giving to the Jewish National Fund. Now, at your tables this morning, we have pledge cards, and if your table captains can just pass these out this morning, we hope that you will fill these out and give them back to the table captains, and please do it this morning. I know personally, when I get these pledge cards, I think, oh, I'll go home, I'll give the money when I get home, I'll write a check, I'll fill it out then. And then I go home and it sits on my desk for a few months, and after a while it becomes the coaster for my coffee in the morning. So please grab it to this morning, and let's turn our good intentions into good actions. And when you filled it out, please return them to your table captains. We have a goal this morning, and I want to make it clear it's not a monetary goal. It is a goal of unity. It is a goal of unanimous commitment from each person in this room. It is a goal of 100% participation. This morning, we have with us two of the most influential Jews in the world, Russell Robinson, who you just heard from, and Ron Lauder, who you're about to hear from. Let's leave these two gentlemen with a message and a story and a challenge of 100% participation that they can take with them as they traverse the world and go to different communities. Let them tell about on this morning and in this place in Phoenix, Arizona. Over 900 people got together and unanimously raised their voices in support of JNF. Let's do this together. I thank you all for your time, and I thank you for your commitment to the Jewish National Fund. Have a good morning.
Ladies and gentlemen, please turn your attention to the screens.
Some of the world's greatest influencers come from humble beginnings. We'd wager that only one of them could claim to be a tin box. Nobody could have foretold the impact of the Jewish National Fund's blue box or how much larger than its physical size it would become. It all began in the year of 1901. Theodor Herzl was speaking in Basel, Switzerland, addressing the Fifth Zionist Congress. His goal, the immediate creation of a national fund allowing the purchase of land in Israel and the re-establishment of a Jewish homeland. His tool, the hat off his head. 2 weeks later, the vessel was refined. Resembling the charity tzedakah boxes commonly used in synagogues, the blue box was created, small, tin, and yes, blue. Hundreds of blue boxes carrying the words National Fund were manufactured in Vienna, distributed to Jewish communities around the world who contributed as much as they could to make the dream of a Jewish country a reality. People's reactions were extraordinary. By the Second World War, blue box numbers exploded to over 1 million. Land was repurchased and the dream of a Jewish homeland realized. JNF's blue boxes have become irreplaceable icons. To this day, Jews the world over remember them with nostalgic pride as a symbol of the link between diaspora Jewry and the people of Israel. For the last decade, JNF USA has sent out 100,000 blue boxes each year. These timeless instruments have come to represent all that Jewish National Fund has done and continues to do to build a strong, healthy Israel. An Israel that with all its innovations has earned its nickname, the Startup Nation. These days, JNF's mission has expanded beyond collecting change, encompassing community building, technological and environmental research, river rehabilitation, and cutting-edge water solutions, making Israel accessible to people with special needs, keeping the Zionist spirit alive, and so much more. Still, the boxes have not lost their place in the annals of history. They remain testaments to the power of grassroots giving and connection to a Jewish homeland. Held in hand, a JNF blue box does not feel heavy. A glance through its history, however, shows that one such tin box is worth a nation's weight in gold. It is indeed the greatest startup ever, the box that built a country.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Gala co-chair Jeff Bernick to the stage.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's my privilege to introduce to you one of the great Jewish leaders of our time this morning. He is a renowned philanthropist whose foundation supports dozens of Jewish schools, camps, and community centers across Eastern Europe. He also serves on boards of nonprofit organizations and museums around the world. He is a force for justice, who founded and leads the Committee for Art Recovery, which has lobbied museums across Europe to return art stolen by the Nazis to the descendants of their original owners. He is an international advocate for the Jewish people, who meets with heads of state, prime ministers, and government representatives around the world in his roles as past U.S. ambassador to Austria and president of the World Jewish Congress. As if that wasn't enough, he is one of Jewish National Fund's most successful presidents ever. During his tenure, JNF earned a 4-star rating from Charity Navigator and the Better Business Bureau seal of approval. He also grew the JNF donor base to more than 600,000 and successfully branded JNF as a world leader in water conservation as he put Blueprint Negev on the map, which today is transforming Israel's Negev desert making it home to the next generation of Israelis. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Jewish National Fund's Chairman of the Board, Ambassador Ronald S. Lauder.
Wow, Russell didn't lie to me. He said there'd be a lot of people here. First of all, those of you who are still eating, I'm used to talking where my children eat and they don't listen to me. But thank you, and it's a great pleasure to be here this morning in one of America's most vibrant, most committed, and most active Jewish communities, the Jewish community of Greater Phoenix. I'm also very happy to be here on one of the most important holidays in the Jewish calendar, St. Patrick's Day. Mayor Jim Lane, the Honorable Ruth Hilliard, Speaker J.D. Mesnard, the Honorable Mark Killian, Representative Lee Alston, Commissioner Andy Tobin, and my good friend Sam Grunberg, Israel's Consul General in Los Angeles. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to begin today with a personal story. I rotate the paintings in my office from time to time, but there's one painting that I never move. It hangs right above my desk, and I see it every day. I keep it there not because it was painted by a famous artist or because it's worth a lot of money. I keep it there for inspiration. It's a portrait of Theodor Herzl, the young, assimilated Jew who founded the State of Israel and who started the Jewish National Fund. He was born in Budapest in 1860. His parents were well off, and they moved to Vienna when he was 18 years old. He was educated in the best schools. He had a great life. At that time, Europe was a fabulous place for a wealthy young Jewish man. There were concerts, restaurants. High society was open to Jewish people. The last thing on Herzl's mind was his connection to Judaism. To many of the Jews of that era, the old man with beards and the ancient rituals of the past were things of the past. Assimilated Jews believed that they were the future, and that future was unlimited. You know, you can go through life with rock-solid beliefs that you just know are true, and then the world has a nasty habit of shattering those beliefs with a hard dose of reality. Theodor Herzl's moment of truth took place in a courtroom in Paris. He had gone there in 1894 as a journalist to cover the trial of another assimilated Jew, Alfred Dreyfus, a French military officer falsely accused of treason. It wasn't the charges or even the anti-Semitic kangaroo court that awakened something inside Herzl. It was the reaction of the crowds outside the courthouse and throughout Paris. They weren't just angry at Dreyfus. The trial unleashed an anti-Semitic wave that Herzl had never seen before and never thought possible. He heard crowds chanting, "Death to the Jews," not death to Dreyfus,
but death to the Jews, all Jews. It was at that moment that Herzl understood no matter how forward-thinking a society was, no matter how cultured, anti-Semitism did not come from individuals. It was national, it was ingrained. And the only way Jews could protect themselves from it was to live like everyone else, to have their own nation, to have their own army, to have control of their own destiny. It's called self-determination. And all people had it except one. Herzl wanted Jews to have it as well. Before I go any further, I'll take 3 questions afterwards. I forgot to mention that, but not political. You can talk about a visionary. Just do the math. Herzl created the JNF 31 years before Hitler took power, 37 years before Kristallnacht, 41 years before the Wannsee Conference that set out methods for the industrial slaughter of Europe's Jews. It took the trial of a falsely accused French military officer to wake Herzl up from his comfortable life. Herzl's awakening was my story as well. I don't claim to be a Herzl. There's only one Herzl. But believe me, you could not have found a more assimilated Jew in New York City, and that's saying something. I was raised in comfort. I went to the best schools. Yes, I know I was Jewish, I was bar mitzvahed, but my Jewishness was the last thing I cared about. I went to synagogue twice a year. But in 1986, when President Ronald Reagan appointed me the U.S. ambassador to Austria, something happened that I never, ever expected. I arrived right in the middle of the Waldheim affair. For those of you too young to remember, Kurt Waldheim was the Secretary General of the United Nations from 1972 to 1981. He was often a guest in our home during those years. I remember him as a tall man with impeccable manners, very well respected. There was just one problem. Kurt Waldheim lied about his Nazi past. He told people he had studied law after being wounded on the Eastern Front. The truth is, he was an officer until the very end of the war in military intelligence for a unit that did terrible things in Greece and Yugoslavia. After his lies were exposed and he left the United Nations in disgrace, Kurt Waldheim refused to go away quietly. Instead of just retiring, he went back to his native Austria and ran for president. He wasn't hiding anything, and he wasn't ashamed of what he had done. I remember one day in Vienna when I just arrived as ambassador, coming to hear Kurt Waldheim speaking in St. Stephansplatz, the large open square next to St. Stephen's Cathedral in the center of Vienna. I still remember his words. I was standing there with a large crowd, and he said, "I did nothing wrong that your fathers or your uncles or your friends did during the war." And he said, it was only the New York newspapers that turned this into a big story. You know what he meant by New York newspapers? In Austria, that's a code word for Jewish newspapers. The Austrians weren't ashamed. They were angry that the truth of the Austrian Nazi past was finally dredged up. That was the first time in my life that I came across a truly ugly form of anti-Semitism. I didn't like it. I had 2 choices. I could be quiet about it, let it all die down, and do my job as ambassador, or in other words, go along with it, or I could fight it. I chose to fight it. As ambassador, it was my job to attend Kurt Waldheim's inauguration as President of Austria. I did not want to go. The State Department said I had to go, but there was one person at State who agreed with me, and that was the boss, Secretary of State George Shultz. I did not attend the inauguration. I took my family to France, and the absence of the U.S. ambassador was noted. Many Austrians were angry at me personally, but it was the strongest statement I could make about how I felt about Kurt Waldheim's and Austria's reaction. By the way, I recently asked George Shultz why he backed me up those many years ago, and he answered in classic Schultz speak. He just said, "I thought you were right." The fact is, the whole thing made me furious. Like Herzl, I chose to devote the rest of my life to fighting for the Jewish people in the state of Israel. From that From that day forward, I became a Jew, not just 2 days a year, but 365 days a year. I became involved, I became active, but it started another strange way. A man named Ivan Hacker came to see me. He was the head of the Austrian Jewish community, and he said, "I'm an old man, I'm sick, I'm going to die. I want you to become the new head of the Jewish community." I told him, "I know as much about being Jewish as my Marine guard downstairs," and he was African American. That was in June. In August, Ivan Hacker's wife called me, and she said to me, "My Mann ist gestorben, my husband died." And she said, "Please honor his wishes." I asked her, "Are you sure you got this right?" She said, "Yes." 1 week later, I received an invitation to go to a meeting to select a new head of the Jewish community. I went to that meeting, but I sat in the back of the room. For 40 minutes, I listened to 40 men arguing, very typically Jewish, especially in Vienna. Finally, I got exasperated. I went to the front of the room and started to speak. The secretary there said, "All those in favor of Ambassador Lauder becoming the head of the Jewish community, raise their hands." 40 hands went up. I asked for a recount. I knew I had to do something. So the first thing I did about coming back to the residence that evening was to contact President Ronald Reagan. I told him what happened. So what do I do? He said, "That's okay. I was elected president of the Screen Actors Guild." I said, "There's a big difference between the Screen Actors Guild and the Austrian Jewish community." He answered, "What's the difference? They're all Jews." George Shultz was more direct when I called him. He said, "What the hell did you do?" When I explained the reasons, he said, "Okay, try to keep a low profile and don't write me any notes." It was also in Vienna that I was taken to a kindergarten for the children of Russian refugees. It was run by Chabad, and it gave these children their first chance to learn anything about Judaism. I was so moved by this experience that I started my own foundation that today has Jewish schools throughout Eastern Europe and Central Europe, and now also in Greece and Rome. We have educated over 30,000 Jewish children so far. And today there are thriving Jewish communities in places where there were none. I'd like to make one comment about it. We are coming up to Pesach. In Eastern Europe, most of the Seder's are done by children asking themselves the questions while their parents sit there because of our schools. And it's amazing. It's very rarely done. You see a child conducting the service and what we taught them. Thank you. On my return from Austria, I started looking for an organization that focused on Israel, and I discovered JNF. Sure, I've heard about it before, but I really started to learn a great about it. And I decided to run for president. I was elected, and this time I didn't ask for a recount. When I arrived at JNF, I understood why they elected me. They were broke. They had almost no money and no direction. I found out I could not declare bankruptcy. I needed someone to pull it together. I heard about a young, dynamic man in California who had great vision and tremendous energy, a great fundraiser. I met Russell Robinson, and in 5 minutes, I knew he was the man. It was probably the smartest hire of my life. Herzl founded JNF after Dreyfus. I came to JNF after Waldheim. We both realized that without JNF, Israel could not be what it is today. Now that you've heard my story, I'd like to ask you a question. What brought you here today? Was the lies about Israel that you see every day on the internet or in newspapers or on television? Was it the UN? Were those lies have become part of an outrageous bias? Or was it something else? Was a realization that you want to do something to help the Jewish people? Whatever reason, I'm glad you're here. And frankly, I'm honored by it. There is no doubt that something has changed in the past few years. Right after World War II, no one was openly anti-Semitic because no person, no sane person, wanted to be associated with the Nazis. But 80 years later, and 3 generations later, people forgot what that hatred led to. Anti-Semitism today takes 2 forms. There are the painted swastikas that we see on buildings and gravestones overturned in JCC's telephone. That's one type of anti-Semitism. Another type of anti-Semitism, something new, that's an anti-Semitism that tries to help hide itself as anti-Israel. Let me tell you another story. When I first met the late dictator of Venezuela, Hugo Chavez, may he rest in pieces, I want to start the conversation off on the right foot. So I said to him, I heard you're an anti-Semite. His translator almost choked. His response was interesting. He said, I'm not an anti-Semite at all. I'm only anti-Israel. So I asked him, who do you think lives in Israel, Martians? He understood exactly what I meant. Let me make this perfectly clear. When you hold the only Jewish nation on earth to a different standard than any other country, when you lie about his past and his presence, That is anti-Semitism, period. When someone tells you that they are not anti-Semitic, they're only just anti-Israel, you'll know exactly what they are. You can disagree with their policies, but you can't disagree with the country. Today, we've seen a rise of anti-Semitism throughout the world, but it is most prevalent in the Middle East and Western Europe, countries like France, Scandinavia, and Netherlands. But there's a huge difference between today's anti-Semitism and the anti-Semitism of the 1920s and 30s. Today we have a strong, powerful Jewish organization, like the JNF and the World Jewish Congress and others. And most important, we have the State of Israel, the Jewish State of Israel. One small country, but what a country. Only 8 million people, but it's the world leader in water, high tech, and defense. The role of JNF has played in Israel's development is beyond amazing. Israel is the only country in the world that has more trees today than it did 100 years ago. There's also a forecast I read a few days ago that every country in the Middle East, at this the way they're going, will be uninhabitable in 2030 because of a lack of water. Every country except Israel. Just a few years ago, I walked in the Negev where there was nothing. It was dry and barren. By the way, when I go to the Negev, I always dress like this also. The Negev, I think many of you know, makes up 60% of Israel's land. But because of the coordinated work with the JNF and water resource and development, there is a new town of Grat Bar that has more than 400 homes. It's a thriving community. It's a place that there was barren beforehand because of JNF. That's incredible work that JNF has done, particularly in water reclamation. These are some of the things we'll talk about in the next 3 days. Excuse me, next 2 days. Tomorrow we don't talk about it. Remember, all this was done in a constant state of war, without oil wealth, and isolated from the world. But today, things are changing that we never dreamed possible. Just last week, Intel announced the acquisition of Mobileye, the high-tech Israeli company developing driverless cars. The price for Mobileye was $15 billion. Sorry I didn't invest. I believe that is this technology that will eventually lead the Palestinians to understand this is their future also, not hatred. Today, almost 60% of the Arab world is under 35 years old. They are looking for a better future, something they don't have now. As I travel around the Middle East, I've been to some of the most crazy places in the world, I see that they are looking to Israel and its high-tech revolution. I believe that the desire to follow Israel's success could lead to a two-state solution. I saw a fascinating poll last year. Israelis, believe it or not, are the most happiest people and most satisfied people on earth. I almost fell off my chair. Israel's score higher on the Life Satisfaction Index, ahead of Americans, the French, and the British. How can this be? No other nation on earth has had to defend itself every minute of every day since its birth. No other nation had to be a target of terror attacks day in, day out, and terror continues to this day. I believe it comes from three things. First, a tremendous belief in freedom. Second, it comes from the great courage of the Israeli people. And third, it comes from caring for each other. We see it every single day. When a lone soldier fell in the recent Gaza war, more than 10,000 Israelis, who never even met him, refused to let this young man be buried alone. 10,000 people. This lone soldier did not die alone. I know Sam Grunberg, who you heard from before, who is here today, had the heartbreaking task during the Gaza war of notifying families of the fallen. He escorted this family's, the family that came in from the States, and he never left their side. That is what you see in a Jewish nation: freedom, courage, and a deep, deep caring for each other. It's what Jews do for each other. Sam, are you here? Where are you? Sam? Stand up and thank you. Sam, before he started working with the Israeli government, was working for World Jewish Congress. And he was great, but he did a spectacular job in working with these families, particularly the family of this American soldier who was killed. And he never left, and it's amazing, and none of us should ever have to do that. I'm not minimizing the challenges that we face as a people, the anti-Semitism that we see, and especially in the Middle East and in Europe. The Middle East, in many places, is in flames. Just next door in Syria, there is a brutal medieval war going on that has killed more than 500,000 civilians. Iran has not stopped talking about wiping Israel off the face of the map, although they have a nuclear deal, but they continue to try. I mentioned the insane bias at the UN, but even in the UN, there has been a sea change. I don't care what your politics may be. I do, but I'll have to say that. Every one of you should watch our new UN ambassador, Nikki Haley's first press conference for UN. What a breath of fresh air. These threats should not be ignored, but we're also in a position that we never dreamed we'd be in. Israel is in a place of strength that even Herzl, the visionary, Herzl the dreamer, never imagined. China, India, Russia, even some of the Middle Eastern countries are working with Israel. Maybe that success is our greatest challenge in raising money today. But this is a problem that only Jews only dreamed of having 50 years ago. The first time I came to Phoenix, I spoke in front of 46 people. Today, Russell tells me there are 1,000 people in this room. Wow, things are changing. So here's my message to you. Never forget the challenges we face, but never, never despair. Be strong, be positive, and let us continue to work together. We will follow the giants who came before us, from Herzl to Ben-Gurion to Golda to Rabin to Dayan, and every Israeli soldier buried in Mount Herzl. This is our moment. This is your JNF, and this where we will make our mark, and we will not let the future generations down. Thank you. I'm Israel Hai. If there's anyone brave enough to ask a question, I'd be glad to take one. Any question? I've never known, Russell's pointing to somebody, I can't see. Where? Okay. I have to speak loudly. Does a microphone? Okay. Not political.
No, sir.
And
State
not about New
Representative.
York City either.
I'm State Representative Jay Lawrence. Could you comment, please, on the Jewish settlements and the efficacy of those settlements?
Why don't you ask me my opinion of Donald Trump? That's an easier one. By the way, I'm a friend of his. The settlements. I understand the questions of why people want settlements. I believe, and this may be difficult, that yes, there's a reason why people should have the right to build on their land. But I also believe that a one-state solution is not a solution for Israel. A one-state solution will lead to another South Africa where Jews will be in a minority. I believe in a two-state solution. I believe that the settlement question hurts that issue. It gives very much the Palestinians a way to say, we don't want to do it. I believe we should do everything we can now to try to find a two-state solution. And I believe with a combination of Prime Minister Netanyahu and President Trump, you have the beginnings of a two-state solution. I've had conversations with the president of the Palestinians, Abu Mazen, and he also believes in a two-state solution. I believe time is now, and I think for the extra settlements that you have, the extra 5,000 people that may be affected, it might hurt this solution. If we miss this opportunity, we'll miss a major opportunity. The Arab world outside wants to make peace with Israel, and they're looking to us to find a way, looking to Israel to find a way, also to America, to find a way that they can recognize Israel officially. A two-state solution will do it. Thank you. I don't know if I made friends or enemies, but that's my feeling. By the way, as president of the World Jewish Congress, I'm not allowed to have opinions. But here I am part of JNF, so I can have opinions. By the way, JNF has more opinions than they have people. Is there any other question? One last question.
Sit back there. Stand up. Go back to the back. You gotta stand up if you raise your hand.
Okay. Wait, is there a microphone you can give him?
My name is Jackie Sabag. As you may know about the crisis going on with the Kinneret in Israel. We have reached the lowest level in 100 years. I wonder if you can comment on how the JNF can be involved, if they are planning to be involved, or there is anything they can do.
What? Oh, the Kinneret. Look, the problem, with the Kinneret, and I've been there not so long ago and looked at the left going down and down. Two things are happening. One, we continue to take water out of the Kinneret, and two, the Kinneret is not being refilled because there's other things happening above the Kinneret, particularly in parts of Syria, that doesn't allow the water to come down. It's a major problem. We don't need to take water from the Kinneret. What we should be doing is building more desalination plants up north and be able to use that water and let the Kinneret refill itself. You have a major problem there, and we must do everything we can to make sure the Kinneret does not reach such a low level that it becomes unusable. Also, we have a second problem, and that's the Dead Sea. The Dead Sea is also, for those of you who've been recently to Israel and you fly over the Dead Sea, you see that it's really getting lower and lower. It's for two reasons. Number one, because of all the different industries around the Dead Sea. And the second is the whole question of evaporation, and it's not being refreshed. There is a new project out called the Red Dead, which is a canal between the Red Sea and the Dead Sea. And the Red Sea is about, I guess, 5,000 feet above the Dead Sea. What they will do is the water will come over there and come down to the Dead Sea, and the force of the water will act almost like a dam, and there'll be enough power for the entire region in the south of Israel, but also for a lot of things for Jordan. They'll also supply water to the Dead Sea as well as water for the whole area. It should be a major project. This was Shimon Peres's dream, and it'll happen within the next 3 or 5 years. But water is a critical element today in Israel, and they're doing a very good job. But also, underneath the Negev is 20 billion cubic liters of water. It's all water from basically the Ice Age time, and it's not been touched. That's a whole different question of what can be done. The amount of things that can be done for water is amazing. JNF has saved Israel because the 262 reservoirs have given Israel that extra 3 or 4 or 5 years it needs in extra water, so that, frankly, the type of things they're doing are making Israel one of the only countries in the Middle East that has enough water to feed its population. Also, because of agriculture, when you take an orange, which is wonderful, except an orange, what you're really doing is exporting water. And the real question is, how much more agriculture should we be doing in Israel versus what we should be putting our money into? It's a whole different thing. And the Negev itself, we believe, and that's one of JNF's major projects, is to develop the Negev and make it a place very much like Phoenix. I don't know if that's good or bad, but but I think it can be happen. I thank you all. God bless you, and thank you.
Once again, please welcome our gala co-chairs Jeff and Harriet Bernick and Jeremy and Betsy Zangara to the stage.
On behalf of all the co-chairs, we really appreciate your attendance today at the breakfast. What a treat it was to have Ronald Lauder speak. We are very privileged and happy that he was able to come. Please stay involved in JNF, and please continue your strong support of Israel. Thank you so much for coming to the Arizona Breakfast 2017.
Israel chai, Amen, Amen, Am Yisrael chai, Amen, Amen, Am Yisrael chai, Amen, Amen, Am Yisrael